Good evening. My name is Rahman Muhammad. With me is my co-host, Chris Purnell, Dr. Chris Purnell, Anton Willer. This is our first episode for the Newark Citizen, where we will be discussing issues that affect the citizens of Newark. First of all, I'd like my co-hosts to introduce themselves. Anton, start with Anton.
Well, actually, ladies should go first.
Okay, well, ladies first.
Well, let the doctor go first. Well,
Okay.
I'm Dr. Chris Purnell. People know me as Dr. Chris. I like to think of myself as a wellness advocate. Okay, and a wellness advocate can be personified in many different roles, not just a clinical physician, which I used to be in the past, but a public health force to be reckoned with, looking to actually cultivate the wholeness and the wellness of each individual. And we need to know all the moving parts to be able to do that. So I'm here to speak about the things that are relevant.
So, Doc, here's the rule, right? When you give big words, we want you to start
What's
giving
a
out
big
meanings, too. Go ahead.
How are you? I'm crazy. I'm Anton Wheeler, Newark resident, a longtime community activist, and I'm an educator. I actually educate in the Irvington Public Schools District, and I served some time here on the Newark Public Schools Advisory Board. Did some time as a legislative aide for Mayor Sharp James, and I served on the Central Planning Board. So I'm here to offer my opinion in some positions that I may take about things that are going on socially in with regards to public policy from our current administration.
And my name is Rahman Muhammad. I've been involved in the City of Newark politics for well over 20 years. I'm a local union leader, also a community activist, very active in the community. We're a little rusty on this first show, so don't mind it if we make some mistakes. It's unscripted. We're not trying to be scripted. We just want to discuss the issues concerning Newark residents and the things that our politician elected officials do, and outside of our elected officials too, by the way, of any issues. Is there, some of the things that we like to do is to actually talk about things that's coming up in the city. If there are events that any of you know about that you want to remind folks to attend, be my guest, and before we begin, and go ahead.
Sure, just two events to take note of. On October 15th, Valerie Prasad, Inside Social Work, will be honoring people throughout the Newark community in the greater Essex County area at Metropolitan Baptist Church. In addition to that, the Essex County Democratic Women will be having their annual breakfast at Seton Hall on the 22nd in the month of October.
You got anything yet? No, I don't either. So, but if anybody does have events that they want us to actually remind people to do, you can email us. There will be an email address on the site for you to email us at. If you let us know when the events will be, what time, we will mention them on location. So there's just a few issues that I want to discuss.
Okay.
That's happening. I think the hot issue right now is actually the trial.
Okay.
That's going on with the deputy mayor, and there's some.
When you say hot, what do you mean?
I think right now in the city of Newark, that's the issue that everybody's talking about, the corruption trial with the former deputy mayor Saldine, and there are some things that's being found in the corruption trial that a lot of people are being surprised about. One is some comments that was made by Joe Polavecchio on a mic where he made some racist comments about African Americans in the city. And to me, the other thing, that's really surprising is actually the role that Polavecchio and Pablo Fonseca played, yet they're not being charged. And a lot of people is wondering, right, how is it that if these people played these key roles in the corruption trial, why aren't they being charged? So,
I don't know. I think I watch too much TV. I'm not a lawyer, nor do I claim to be. But in these instances, you never know what you would uncover, probably, as you go forth and continue your investigation, and even bring things out through the judicial system. One could speculate, if you watch enough Law and Order, CSI, that maybe Polavecchio and Pablo Fonseca are working with them. They're cooperating witnesses. Those are those normal urban legend myths that you may hear. But the reality to it is this: what it clearly shows is that there's a different set of standards for one group of people as there are for another. And this trial does nothing more than just bring to the forefront, again, like I said, this is nothing new, people's attitudes and their mantra when they're dealing with African Americans in positions of leadership, and how they deal with them, and how they feel they can talk about them in public or in private when they talk about dealings with them. So the quote, the word that was allegedly used was shine or shine boards or something of that nature. and which is normally a derogatory term for African Americans. But the reality to it is, I want to know.
Normally, it is a derogatory.
It is, no. But what I want to know is, it is a term, right? But what I want to know more so is this: what are the other terms that they use?
Yeah.
And,
Wow.
and that was just what we heard on the mic with him talking to these individuals.
Right.
Because we've known a few individuals to sit somewhere in the North Ward and call people the N-word a couple of times, and black people have been in his midst and they've said nothing about it.
Right.
So it doesn't surprise me in that respect.
Right.
What will surprise me is the non-action that will take place as a recourse of this, if the municipal council and Essex County Democratic Party do nothing.
Right.
I don't look for this mayor to say anything, because this mayor has never said anything with regards to a social issue and how they amount to race or class in the city since his mayorship took place.
Right.
So I don't look for him to say anything. And just as I read a letter that you and Brother Sharif sent out.
Yeah, we sent the letter.
Sent the letter out. The letter was a good gesture,
Right.
but the letter should have came from the chairman of the Democratic Party and the county executive.
Yeah, but they're not going to do that.
Right, well, the reality
Actually,
to it
they
is
want
it should.
to sweep this on the rug. I mean,
Well, I'm sure they do.
it's clear that they don't want to, make waves with what was going on. But I think, but even before the Paulo Vecchio situation, I think the big the issue that I have is the environment that occurred when Booker was hired, and where you now seeing that a lot of these nonprofits that Corey started, that he brags about, that he takes credit for raising all this money. A lot of this money was raised through really extortion, right? That Pablo Francesco was charged with raising money for Newark Now and Empowerment Newark, right? And the way he went about raising that money for these institutions was to get the developers and the and law firms too, by the way, because it's not just developers,
Right.
Right? It was developers and law firms and anybody who wanted to do business with the city of Newark. They had to give a certain amount of money. I know for a fact that at one point $25,000 was the number that you had to give, and I know this for a fact. So any Booker person, I know they don't want to have this conversation with me because they know I got the proof. Because I know where the checks
without
are.
proof.
Can you support it?
I got the check. You know what I'm saying?
Who shot Kennedy,
I'm
right?
clear. I know that $25,000 was the going rate that you had to raise to do business in the city of Newark. But to me, it's like, it's surprising. Like, they giving him a pass. They giving this man a pass. He signed these contracts. His council voted for this, doc.
Well, let me say this. Let's take it back to what Mr. Willis said first. It is the priority and the obligation of citizens. You don't need to have a title behind your name. You do not need to have, let's say, a particular position. Leadership is situational, right? And so if things are being said, let's address the Paulo Vecchio comment a little bit further. If things are being said, I think it's the responsibility of people who have a voice to stand up and use that voice, and to let people know that that climate, that environment will not be tolerated. I can say I've been in the room with Mr. Paulo Vecchio, and of course he's not using any language like that in front of me because he's dealt with me far enough and long enough to know that I would call him to task on it because I have been in
Well, he's only going to use it on mics.
Where I have
That he don't know about, by the way.
where I have called people to task, but it is up to us. It is up to the educated. It is up to the people who have a sense of dignity. It is up to the people who say, I know who I am and what I represent, to call people to task. And to actually usher other politicians to say, what are you going to make? What type of comment are you going to make on this situation? So that we know that's not tolerated. That's not tolerated in 2011. That responsibility and that obligation actually lies with us. Likewise, it's the responsibility of the citizenry to say to your elected officials, pay to play has to stop. The buck has to stop somewhere, and it has to stop with the executive. What type of, in corporate America and even in nonprofits and academia, we talk a lot about organizational culture. What is the organizational culture of the city? What is known and what is not known? I'm not here to speculate or, what offers were made, what bribes or what money you had to put forward in order to be able to do business, because I don't have knowledge of that. I'm not privy to that. But what I can speak to is that there must be a transparent culture. There must be a
But
transparent
he ran on
culture.
transparency, though, Doc.
True, he ran on
He said that he had transparency. He criticized Mayor Sharp James on this corrupt culture, and yet and still his administration, in the first few days of his administration, we got a bunch of corruption, and most of the corruption is around raising money for his two nonprofits. Empowerment Newark and Newark Now are Cory Booker's babies. These were the one was supposed to be a political arm, Empowerment Newark, and Newark Now was supposed to be the nonprofit agency that was supposed to service the residents of Newark. My issue here, though, is that he's getting a complete pass. Like, if this was Sharp James that was sitting in the seat, and he
now,
created.
when you say he's getting a complete
Like,
pass,
the press is not.
You're saying the press is not
I mean,
trying
if you
to
listen-
do,
if
the
you
press
listen-
is not requiring an answer.
Right, if you listen
Okay.
to the way the press is printing it, it's almost like, you know, everybody did these things without he signed the contract. He signed the contract for Mizaki.
Well, you know,
he signed the
is going to say
contract.
that he can't make comments during an active
He did what? I'm
trial.
sorry?
He's going to say, like anybody who would
He's
say,
a cooperating
you know,
witness. I mean,
sitting
Who?
in that
The
position
mayor.
that he
I'm
cannot,
I'm not- but-
you know, he
making
cannot
sure
make
he's-
comments.
Well, I don't expect him to make a comment. The problem I'm having is that the pass that the press is giving, the fact that there was this
That's valid.
corruption going on around his two organizations that were receiving funds, and they were receiving funds based on his chief of staff, Pablo Fonseca, going out forcing developers and law firms to give money to these groups to do business in the city. And it's like, it's so easy to determine. All you have to do is go look at the records of the people that got business in the city and the contributions and match it up with who got business in the city.
I mean,
And
even
they
if
just
you,
give them
even
a
if you look at
pass.
the positional aspect of it, just look who was where. You know, his current chief of staff was at the housing authority when part of some contracts were made there. When you just look at how even some of the organizations were used to funnel city dollars and government dollars that went through some of the nonprofits that he uses now. What I'm saying is this. It is up to the people of this city to demand more from their leadership, regardless
Exactly.
of what's going on.
Exactly.
I don't expect the council person to do anything for me, especially one that's set on a Booker team, in any kind of way. I don't care who their name is, what their last name is. I just don't expect it. I expect for them to be jolted or be riled by us, the citizenry, to say, look, do your jobs. And if not, we're going to hold you accountable, because when he leaves, you'll be here.
But that goes for those who were on his team and those who were not on
Who are
his
not
team.
on his team as well. But my thing is this. Unfortunately, the people who were on their team were in greater numbers than the people who weren't. And numbers dictate policy. It goes to how many you can count. And you know that as well as I do. We all know that. It's how high you can count around the board. And my thing is this. At the end of the day, they're all culpable. Because if they knew it, they voted on it, they were a part of his team. You understand what I'm trying to say? They were part of the mechanism.
The
And
problem.
I don't think that he's taking. I don't think that the press is giving
They're
him
not
a
giving him
pass.
a pass.
I think the press has shown the people, depending on how you look at the situation, how culpable they are.
No, but
they're
that-
selectively reporting the news.
and that's wrong though.
Yeah.
You know, and that's
But
one of the
we- but
reasons
they're
why we're
doing it.
doing the
But
show.
that's like, isn't that sort of like a de facto pass if you selectively
Yeah,
report?
you're absolutely right. It's a de facto pass, but what I'm saying, Doc, is they're also giving us another aspect as well. They're showing us how important it is for us to communicate with one another.
Exactly.
They're showing us how important it is for us to understand our government. They're showing how important it is for us to understand what hypocrisy really is. They're showing us, again, I have a friend who says, you know, be wary of a reformer, a person who calls himself a reformer. Because how are you going to reform a system you didn't create? You know, so you become a part of it and try to make whatever changes you can from
But
within
see-
and not marginalize yourself. But what he did was expose himself completely. Because come on, man, what did Solidarity
I
say on the
think-
wire? But boy, the man gave you
He
$5,000.
exactly.
And what did he
Exactly.
say? You're right.
You're right.
So I mean,
Right.
you-
So and that's my issue though, because I don't want to give the impression that I believe that, I'm gonna say from me knowing Corey, and I do know Corey from a time that when we were actually all close. But reality is that, do I believe that he intentionally would be out there doing? No, but I'm sorry, but an atmosphere was created, and you got to take responsibility because it was his chief of staff. And it seems like if this was Sharp James, I'm sorry, if this was Sharp James,
Or if it was anybody
and
else.
he had a nonprofit organization
If it was
that
anybody
he
else.
created, that his chief of staff was funneling money to, and was getting contributions in the manner that he was getting contribution. I mean, every major news organization in the tri-state area would be at the trial,
I
reporting
agree
every
with you.
single day from the trial, and calling him or leading into a fact that he may be corrupt. They
I
will
agree.
insinuate
They would.
that he was corrupt. Yet this guy seems to. It's just like the press is just saying, we're not. I think one comment in the press when Saldin said. he told Corey that the guy reminded Corey, he gave him the $5,000. Corey said, "You're right." And I think after that, the line was from the press was, "But that's his recollection."
Right.
In other words, that's what Sal said.
Right. That's what Sal said.
You know what I'm saying? That's what he says. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? But so automatically, as soon as they print that in the line,
As if Sal knew he was on the wire being recorded.
exactly. So he's right. My point exactly. So they jump right into saying, but that's what Sal's saying. That's not true. That's just what he's saying. That's his recollection, right? So it's like, let's put this doubt in the mind, and then the story prints, he warned Saladin. No, the story should have been, Saladin reminded him about the $5,000, or he said, "Oh well." But that wasn't the title. The title of the article on that day was, he warned Saladin not to do these type of negotiate and push for these type of
Right.
deals.
Once again, something that Saladin said on the wire.
Right. That he did tell me.
Tell me that.
But
Just like he said, I
him.
reminded him, he gave me $5,000.
And he said, "Okay."
Okay, you're right.
You right.
Bottom
And the guy
line
got a
is-
contract,
True.
Doc.
But bottom line is this: note to anyone who is putting themselves forth as a leader, you cannot not be held accountable, or say you should not be held accountable for
Right.
the culture of the environment in which you lead.
Right.
And too many leaders, too many elected officials, too many politicians, when they get in said office, believe it is not their responsibility to derive or to drive culture. And what I mean by drive culture is to say what will be tolerated and will not be tolerated. Oftentimes we campaign, and we campaign passionately, we campaign aggressively, we use the word transparency a lot, but when it comes to governance, when it comes to management styles, that is getting lost. And I think this mayor owes it to the citizens of Newark. He owes it to his image. Okay, let's just make it even plain. He owes it to his image to be able to say, this is where we had lapses in the culture. And I know he can't really use that direct nature of speech because we have legal implications and what so forth, but there has to be a full accounting at some point. There has to be a full accounting.
I agree with you to him needing to take responsibility, but the reality to it is, I believe that what the media will do is cover and protect his image even more now. I don't think he cares about what the people of North think about him, because he never really cared to begin with, in my opinion. That's my personal opinion. I don't know him personally enough to make that personal assessment, but given some of the political decisions and judgments he's made, and the hypocrisy that besieges City Hall, clearly he doesn't care about what the citizens think, or the citizens that I speak to every day think.
What do you mean he tweets them? They tweet him back.
He shovels their snow.
Matter of fact, if you look on it, you got to see him tweet them down.
He delivered diapers
Yeah.
to someone around the corner.
Right.
You got
And,
listen, I see a lot of tweets from citizens who tweet him and say, "Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for,
There is a contingency out there who does believe that the mayor cares about them,
Right.
and the mayor, believes or has their best interests at heart. I'm not going to say that I believe that, Mayor Booker does not have a love or does not care about the citizens of Newark. I think that's just too general. That's too much of a generalization. Do people have valid points of contention? Yes. It's all about your style.
I think he cares. I think he cares. I just don't think he understands what he got elected to.
I think
the position that
I think when you talk
I don't
about
think he understands
politics,
it.
when you talk about politicians, when you talk about leadership, I think the way you judge an individual is by the public policy that they put forth.
Valid.
The public policy that he's put forth has hurt people. It has put them out of their homes. It has sent people who could have went to rehab or went to some type of program to jail for stealing gas, but your chief of staff was arranging for bills to be made, for contracts to be given for millions of dollars. So when I say he doesn't care about the people of Newark, that goes to reflect what you're saying in your point about him wanting to take responsibility. Him not wanting to take responsibility for this shows that he doesn't care about the people of Newark, because he would want to heal the people of Newark, and he would use this as an opportunity to show how much he loves the people of Newark. That's in my opinion.
He gonna use the
That's in
trial?
my opinion. If he loved the people of Newark, I think, in my opinion, he wouldn't rush added starters downstairs to the municipal councils of the different wards that represent these people, and at-large individuals that represent these people, and try to force them to make decisions when they haven't properly gotten the time to review the information. So, I mean, I have a different version of what constitutes love, honor,
Right,
and
because you
respect
can
for
have a
people.
love but not have a sensitivity.
Well, that's the point. I just don't think he understands the
You see what I'm saying?
dynamics that he
You
works
could
with.
definitely have a love but not have.
I don't
I
think
think
he's
he
as good a
understands
politician as he think he is. That's the problem.
I think he understands the dynamics. I don't think he cares. I honestly don't think he cares.
Well, see, it's a difference between he don't care about. See, here's the thing. I think he cares. I'm not gonna say he don't care about the people of Newark. I mean, I too think that's generalizing. However, you might be right in the fact that he don't care about the fact that he pushes policies that impact certain residents in the city of Newark in a negative way, and he doesn't care about that because this is his way. He believes in his progressive thinking that he's doing the right thing, and this is what's going to make that change. And he's pushing change upon folks that's saying we're not ready for that, or who's saying, listen, we wasn't in the room with you to help put that change together, so we're not going to try it because you haven't included us in the discussions on what that change is going to be about. And so I do think he don't care about that portion. It's like, why should I have to include these people in here? Why should I talk to these folks when I can just push my agenda forward? And he's doing it in the Board of Education right now. So, but I don't want to say he don't care about the people because I think he do. I think he just has his way, and he's saying my way is the way.
I think when you
and that's wrong.
Exactly. I think when you blind people, I think when you're blinded by your own agenda completely, it in a sense absolves you from
True,
that.
What
from that
politician
period.
isn't myopic to some point? Meaning, like, they
But there are
surround themselves.
but there are
with-
politicians.
I like that. Man.
No, but there are people who know how to get things done.
No, definitely.
That's what I'm saying. And to
Definitely.
compromise and to go in the right direction to get things done. Not use fluff all the time to get
Right.
things done.
But there must
what
be
I
agreement
constitute
on what
love,
right is.
But what I constitute love too is, Doc, is you don't have to fluff me. You don't have to pretend you live in an RV, all right, and say that you're there every day and you're doing this to clean up something, and then you're not really, and then you're going and things go back. See, that's not loving me. That's not loving my community, in my opinion. That's not loving my environment. That's not being real. That's being false. That's being fake. That's lying. And when you lie to me indirectly or directly, you don't love me that way. Because what you're trying to do is use me, because you're using me as a backdrop. He talked about him being the top law enforcement officer in the city when his whole race thing came about Gary McCarthy being police director. Yet and still your public safety director, your right-hand man. The man came home with it to his wedding with him. Brought him to his wedding. Was involved in this, in what was going on at the behest of your chief of staff. So you got a man who was your personal driver during your campaign, was your public saying do this, and you're not going to take responsibility for that, but you love me. You love the image that's being bestowed upon Newark right now, one that you're helping to perpetuate, one that you claim you took credit for picking up the phone for, calling the U.S. attorney and telling them that there was something. I
want to move on to another issue because
with regards to that. So what I'm saying is, what I define as love may be different from what you two define as love. But what I'm saying is, there's a loss of it.
Oh no, I don't disagree that there are certain things that he just don't.
Yeah, I don't
give a
disagree
darn.
that
I do want to move on though, but
sensitivities aren't there.
I do want to say that I think what is going on with Saldina Cooper though is a travesty. I don't think that
We never even really got to talk about the racial comment either.
We talked about it a little
we
bit.
did talk
Just a
we
little
talked-
bit.
We talked about it. I think we moved. I don't even want to bring that up until Paolo Vecchio actually responds to the letter that
He's
we
not.
wrote. You know what I'm saying? So, but we were going to talk about it. We got plenty of time to talk about the racial comment because that's going to be an ongoing story. That is not going to be let go, by the way.
I hope not.
It
I want
should not
folks
be
to
let
go.
understand that we are not going to allow
should
for
not be let
the
go.
Palovecchios or anybody else that the Palovecchios do, his friends in the East Ward, because this comment was said at the East Ward Democratic headquarters. Let's be clear about that. Where they actually take this conversation was in the East Ward Democratic headquarters. So let's be clear that this ain't the only. If he felt comfortable with saying that in the East Ward Democratic headquarters at that point in time, I'm sure he said that plenty of times before. And so I agree. I would like to know who else has been using those type of terms. They're not going to be honest and forthcoming unless they're on somebody's wire. But you know what I'm saying? But I do feel sorry for Saldina Cooper because I think they got caught up in something that really, if you even listen to the guy said that he didn't bribe Cooper. I mean, Saldina,
Exactly.
that he didn't give him no money. Right? That the only thing he did was give contributions to Corey's organizations. Yet the people that's being charged is the guy. And then how do you charge a businessman who has no power to get contracts and who's just turning around and saying, listen, if somebody come to me and say, hey, I'm going to help you get some business for you, then what are you going to tell them? No? I mean, it doesn't, it's a shame that the two black guys are the only ones charged when we have a bunch of other people, it seems like, a part of the conversation. But I did want to talk about the two, the ordinance that the council, that book of veto,
Okay.
that the council overturned at the last council meeting. One was the vendors registration. One was the Newark Community Development Fund. I know you're big on that. And the other one, they're going to overturn it. They was prepared to, but I think they're going to add some new language in the one about the security guards
Okay.
at night. So What do y'all think about that? I mean, the council, here's the mayor who ran with a team and he don't have 5 votes on the council.
I don't
Leadership
know.
is situational.
Right, right, you know what I'm saying? I appreciate the small victory here on the council's behalf. I hope they're this belligerent as they go forth.
You said
with
small
some-
victory?
Yeah, small victory on the council's behalf. Well, I'll tell you why.
Right.
These are ordinances, with regards to policy, one that'll have to be funded. Let's talk about that first.
So what's the vendor registration have to be funded?
No, I'm talking about the community development. fund.
Okay.
That'll have to be funded.
Okay.
The vendor registration, excellent. It was just wording,
Right.
should have been changed anyway.
Right.
Kudos to Brother Baraka and everybody
Right.
else who thought about doing that. But my thing is this. I'm glad that they overturned this.
Right.
But when we talk about the structure and the economics of this city, more contracts have been to people outside of this city
Right.
and not of color
Right.
and not of a minority faction.
Right.
All right. When you look at when you look at the council days, you see diversity,
Right.
but you don't see that when the contracts go out.
Yeah,
So
right.
when those contracts like that get voted on,
Right.
and people from in this town that look like us and that look like the diversity that is represented on that council are able to benefit from those contracts, I'll clap my hands a great deal for the council. I'm happy that they did this. It showed that they had some unity and solidarity, but I just want to see them move in another direction and show some unity and solidarity about some other things too. And when they do that, then I'll see them collapsing that Booker team for Newark 5-vote or 6-vote stronghold that he's maintained on the council.
Maybe you can help me though. I'm trying to really explain. I mean, I know what the community development fund was, what it looked like before. What is ultimately, what is it supposed to do?
Well, I don't know.
I mean,
don't
I
know.
believe that we should, I told them last year when we was doing the campaign, and I think that we should create ward-based economic development agencies
Right.
and decentralize the economic development agency that we currently have now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to find out, will the community development fund do that? Is that really
Well,
what it's
I don't know what the specifics are. I haven't read the policy piece of the legislation of that. I know that previously, the previous administration, before they left, they had something in mind like this that they wanted to do. I believe that the makeup was that it would be a community board that determined different community projects in the wards and things of that nature. Before I really speak to what the policy and what the gist of it is, I would like to read it and look over it. Just the mere fact that it says it's a community development fund, I believe that it has to be funded. Money to run it or to spearhead projects from it has to be come from somewhere. That is always a concern. What I do have a concern about is a lot of legislation or a lot of policy that is put forth, and they say the what, but they don't say the how. They may say the why, but they don't say the how. We're in tough economic times, especially for nonprofits and community development agencies. We're in a very serious crisis. We're looking at another housing bubble that's going to affect the economic markets in the next 2 to 3 years, maybe 2 to 5 years. So I'm also interested in not just putting forth things, but saying how we're going to maintain those things as well. One of the things that the county gets kudos for is redoing their parks all the time, but what they don't understand is they do research and they get grants to do all of those things. So, they may have a team of grant specialists that can perpetuate those grants and get those investments.
So overall, you
and
think
things
that
like
the community development fund's a good thing?
I think it's an excellent
So why did he
thing.
veto it?
I think he vetoed it because it wasn't his brainchild. It didn't come out of his camp. It didn't come off his trough. Anything that, in my opinion, that looks like it empowers someone other than him, I think that's a problem for him. I don't think he's learned how to play with his marbles in the sandbox with other kids yet.
Even the vendor registration, but the problem with him is he's vetoed so many different things at the county. He vetoed they wanted to do a community board to look over the budget. It was an advisory board to the council.
Yes.
So it wasn't going to have any authority. It was just an advisory
Right.
board that the council was going to have to look over the budget. He
provide
vetoed
input,
that, to
right.
provide input
Well,
and give
once again-
suggestions. He vetoed that. I'm not understanding. He vetoed
You said he
the
loved-
vendor
you said he
registration.
loved the
He
people in
vetoed the
Newark.
vendor registration. I'm saying that I think he does have. Listen, I don't want to say he don't love. I mean, I just think that's just too hard. I don't want to. I just don't believe that. I think that he's just naive, and I
People
just
are
think
suffering harshly for
that
his
he.
policies.
No, I agree. I
Let me
just
say
think
this, let me say this. Not speaking specifically to the vendor registration or to the community development fund, which are noteworthy things to talk about, but, something that's in my backyard, public health, is the restaurant ordinance. I actually am glad that the mayor vetoed that.
Okay.
Because if you think about it from a public policy standpoint, that's just cherry picking and you're taking the low hanging fruit.
Okay.
That's not going to get at the core of the violence that happens, and it's not going to get at, let's say, a credible dent in the
But
violence.
Dr. Chris,
that's
what do you
happening.
say to
But let me
people
finish
that
this
say you
point.
have to say
Wait.
start
No,
somewhere?
yeah,
No, I
let
wanted to
Let me finish this point.
Okay.
And so if the numbers bear out and only 2% of the violence happens at eateries, that can seat 15 or fewer people. Some people don't like the chicken shack language, but the chicken shack types of restaurants.
Okay.
If the numbers bear out and only 2% of the crime is actually happening around those places, then that does not seem to be the lever that you should pull upon to have the greatest impact. So the reason why I'm in favor of the mayor vetoing that and do not look forward to the council just overturning that is because that's not sophisticated policy enough to have an appreciable turnaround.
Okay.
And so if you want to look at the issue, we need to then talk with public health experts. We need to talk with, public safety. We need to talk with law enforcement and say, where do we need to put the brunt of our focus and our efforts? Look, I'm a doctor and I'm into public health. Let's make it plain. Should we be talking about taxation? Should we be talking about zoning? No one should be eating there, okay?
Okay.
All right,
Okay.
and it's like, then the second wave of it is let's get to the culture that's around these type of eateries. It's just not there at the Chicken Shack. That same culture is 5 houses down, 20 houses down around the corner of the street and down the block.
Okay.
So when we begin to pick ordinances, or when we begin to look at public policy to say, where can I get just a quick win without it being an appreciable win, that's a problem.
Okay.
That's a problem because it does not
So
solve
you view the
long-term.
legislation as being a quick win? Because I view it as it's a place to start.
So, right, what about the people who say you gotta start
Okay.
somewhere?
All right, so when you say you want to start somewhere, show me where
Well, show
that
me-
start is going to be able
Well, Doc,
to
I'm saying
snowball. Okay.
snowball
Okay.
and build
Well, I don't-
something
here-
that's
here's
going
a-
to have a larger impact. You want to change violence, you change violence by changing perception. You want to change violence, you actually change it by building health literacy.
That's
What's
right.
health literacy? The health literacy is the ability to make choices and decisions about your health and your well-being,
Well-being,
right?
yes.
Violence kills you. It is anti-health, anti-well-being. So we need to get at, the places where we can build that health literacy. We can build that health literacy through the nonprofits, through the faith-based organizations, through education.
Through the reentry program that this mayor has. for
Not
his
by
people.
saying, okay, Chicken Shack, you gotta hire a guard.
Okay.
Okay, because violence is happening.
What about saying Chicken Shack, you gotta close down at a reasonable hour?
What about saying Chicken Shack,
Closed period?
you don't need to be in this neighborhood?
I understand what she's saying.
But,
I understand what she's
listen,
saying. I might not agree, but I
That's
understand
my
what
Well,
she's
listen,
saying.
I don't, we don't,
That's
listen.
my opinion. I
Listen,
respect
see,
that.
I'm a business advocate, so I believe
Free
in
enterprise, free enterprise.
I believe in
respect
free
that.
enterprise.
Free
So,
enterprise,
but I
I
do
respect
think
that,
that
but-
those free enterprise should be able to close at a decent time, and if they can't, they should provide security to secure those facilities. So
But
I'm
what
with
about-
saying
what
shut them
about-
down at a certain
okay,
hour.
so
To be
what
honest
about
with
when
you,
it
forget the
becomes
security.
more of a burden if you're for free enterprise? What about when it becomes more of a burden for you to hire the security?
Then I'm gonna shut it down if I'm not making enough profit.
So then you're subtracting businesses from
No, I'm
you.
not, because the bottom line is, I'm saying to you, I think it does create a negative environment as late as they be, because if you see the folks that actually go up into these eateries at this time, like, it's not the working Joe, it's not the average citizen
working
that's
Joe
going,
is
trying to
getting
go up
shot.
this guy. It's who's going
working
inside
Joe is
these
getting shot.
eateries at these
Working
wee
Joe is
hours of the
getting
night. Are the drug dealers, are the drug addicts, are the people that's up to no good, you know what I'm saying, at
But
night, and
that's-
they're just giving them a place for them to congregate and, you know what I'm saying, and to hang
But
out.
if it's only responsible
So
for
shut 'em down.
2% of the violence.
It don't matter, but let's start
you
somewhere.
see
Let's
what
get
I'm
that
saying?
2%.
You know, let's start somewhere that's
It'll bring the
five,
numbers
that's-
down.
that's
It'll help
10.
demand
There
bring the
are
numbers.
different
I think,
ways. There are different ways to go about it than that particular.
I'll tell you why
ordinance.
I agree and disagree. I think that there needs to be an in-depth research with regards to what type of policy to be put forth to deal with this
Right.
issue. I think that the residential areas that surround these corridors that house these individual eateries that bring about these different violence, I think they need to be brought in to the fold and asked what needs to be done
Right.
in addressing these issues, because they're
I'm sorry, the
individuals-
eateries, the people that own them?
No, the residents.
The
Oh, the residents.
And this
Okay.
is why I
The
mean that.
residents.
When they walk out to the main thoroughfare from their block and can't get down the street, can't get into the store, are afraid or turn back around and go back home because they're affected and they're paying taxes. So if for instance, they're locked in their own environment, they're limited in their own environment, but they're paying for them to be able to be egregious and be disrespectful. So the people need to be involved. And I think like we need residential court, or we need improvement authorities or improvement associations that give the residents a voice in what happens.
Y'all
and
getting
how
too
these-
deep and
That's not being too deep.
I think y'all getting too deep
brother,
into
a
it, both
woman
of y'all.
on
boy.
vacation got killed, brother. Ain't nothing too deep to protect your life.
No, that's not what I'm saying. Y'all getting a
Nothing.
little. I mean, there's an ordinance that Baraka and them is going to
And what-
overturn.
what she's
and I
saying
think
is-
it should be
I'm saying it's not the
overturned.
best- it's not
I'm
the
speaking
best
to
way
what
to
she's
go
saying.
after it.
She's saying that it's a short win. What I'm
And it
saying
might
is,
be, but it's a good
Wait,
short
I
one.
agree
It
with
may
starting
not-
somewhere.
If it is a win, it's going to be a small win, and we don't know how much of a win that if. What if the belligerents just decide I'm going to move away from the chicken shack? I'm going to move away because you hired an armed security guard. What if that doesn't even faze me?
It won't.
Right? So then you have created a hurdle for the businessman without having appreciable gain when it comes to public health.
I'm sorry. He should
You see
close.
No, you know how I feel. No one should.
You know, there's no one to eat there, right?
I mean,
And it's not there.
I mean,
He's
so-
closed. Nobody's gonna eat there.
Right, but I don't think that's why the mayor vetoed it though. I think the
Why
mayor
did he?
vetoed it because the council voted for it and Baraka was the sponsor and he just wanted to veto it. I don't think he did all this research and I just think it's just nonsense.
Listen,
I don't think he did
I
the
don't
sole
think that the
thought
mayor
process.
researches much,
That's
in
right.
my opinion.
Right. So
That's just my opinion.
His reason for vetoing it to me,
regardless of what his reasons was for vetoing it, the
What did he say
idea
was
to
his
do,
reason other than
the
that?
idea to do something about the
Did
issue.
he give an example? Did
No,
he say why
not
he
that I
did
know
it?
of, but the
believe
idea to do
he probably
something
spoke
about the
about
issue should be commended.
Oh, he did on WBGO.
Yeah.
What I'm
He
saying
spoke about
is
it.
to do something that is going to work and completely work and have some long-term effect is what's important.
Definitely.
I don't care why he vetoed it. That's his business.
All right, so our time's running short. So.
You know, regardless of why he
Definitely
vetoed
I
it.
just
back
wanted
to
to
that.
talk about one more issue though. It's going to be vetoed it's going to be
Overturned.
overturned at the next council meeting. So we definitely going to talk about because you don't want it done. So I just want everybody all in the hoopla now because there's a fundraiser coming up for Cory Booker for re-election in 2014, and so a lot of people who thought he wasn't going to run again is feeling just quickly right. I don't think he's running. I think that if he does run in 2014, he believes it's a failure, and it would be a failure in his, in my opinion too, because this was never his plan to be here more than 3 terms.
More than 2 terms.
More than 2 terms. He planned on being far from Newark.
Actually, in the middle of his first term.
Right. Well, not in the middle of the first, but definitely in the second. And he planned on being far from here at this point. So I think it would be a failure if he ran. But what do you think? Because I mean, I got these folks telling me about all these different people he don't put. Cory has always put a bunch of names on. He's always skirted the finance laws and put phantom candidates to raise these
I
maximum.
haven't heard of some of the phantom candidates.
Well, I don't know the phantom candidates either, but I heard about a bunch of folks that were saying like Tariq Onik is supposed to be one of them.
Tariq Onkay?
Yeah, it's supposed to be one of the guys.
provisional guy that's costing the city money?
I don't know, but I'm told that he's supposed to be one of the guys that they said that is on the list. He's supposed to be running for a central ward, right? But he has filled in these phantom candidates from the beginning of him talking about running for mayor and Team Booker. He had if you go back and look at his first elect report, you will see people who was on them sheets. He was raising money for that, never ran for elected office. He's been doing this for quite some time now. He's doing it again to raise money for whatever he's raising money for. But I just don't believe this guy is running again. Nor do I think he can win in 2014 if he ran again. So
do you believe he's going to run
so
again?
do you believe that?
He can win again?
You believe he's going to run? You believe he can win?
Personally, I don't believe he's going to run again. Do I believe he can win? Cory Booker still has a sizable part of the population who thinks he's doing a very good job. Me personally, and I can also speak for my family, Cory Booker was an attractive candidate for us when we decided to repopulate the city of Newark. Our mother came here and our grandfather had a store here, and so we were in East Orange and we dispersed for academic pursuits. But the reason why he was attractive to me and to people of my household is because it was going to be able to bring, let's say, the others who may not have otherwise considered Newark, and that then maybe Newarkers could reap the benefits of that. That was the attractiveness of it, right? Mm-hmm. It was this fresh blood, these new ideas, this new energy. He's definitely a charismatic figure. He's definitely going further, and I do not fault someone for having ambition.
Right.
The problem where people get into it is when they're being made to feel like a stepping stone and not a cornerstone.
Right.
When you're made to feel like you are the cornerstone of launching someone into the stratosphere, you are empowered by that. Mm-hmm. You derive a sense of, of self-esteem from saying, our city helped to establish a national leader. So I do believe that there still are a lot of positive and great things that the mayor has done, but my issue is just with sensitivities. And so I would not count him out, but I do not believe he's going to run again.
I would welcome him to run
You doing
again.
it,
No, I would welcome him to run again. I would love to see what a Newark of 4 more years of Cory Booker and then running on a re-election bid, what it would do. I would like to see that again. I don't think he would win if he ran again. And do I
Who
think
would beat him?
I think anybody that
think
want to run
anybody
would beat
with
him.
some breath in him right now.
Yeah, I'm saying, I think that anybody.
I honestly believe that.
Yeah. I think there are at least 3 or 4 people on the council that could beat him, and 1 person that's on the school board right now that I think would be able to beat him if they actually run. So, you know what I'm saying? I don't think that he can win again. If you look at his vote totals, he went from winning at 30,000 to 21 or 22,000 the last time he ran around. His numbers are dropping, and I
run,
can believe it's
race
gonna drop
in
even
between.
more.
Anything
He's not, he's not able to carry nobody. He has no coattails. Listen,
But
these
if
are
2
people.
other heavyweights run with him and the vote gets split, he becomes more competitive.
Yeah, but that's not. No, there got to be a runoff. First of all,
Right.
neither
Yeah, I
one will get
understand that, but
a
I'm just
50.1% of the vote, and the problem
That's
it'll be a
how-
runoff, and then once the runoff comes, he's finished.
Agreed.
I don't think he'll risk it. I wouldn't. If I was his campaign advisor, I wouldn't suggest he risk it. My advice to Cory Booker would be that if he has an opportunity to move somewhere else, the best time to do it is very soon to move on ahead before.
Real quickly, my advice to Cory Booker would be to do the best he can to help fix Newark while he's here.
Well, he's not gonna do that.
But you said he loved the people.
Well, I said I still think he got love for the city. I just don't think I think his policies are naive. I think that he doesn't understand the people that he represent, that he actually ran for, and I think that you know what I'm saying, a lot of what he does and ideas that he has come from people like the Manhattan Institute, progressives that's not from this city.
Manhattan Institute is a progressive like that?
No, not Manhattan Institute is progressive, but I'm saying that they're progressive organizations.
baby.
There are liberal progressive organizations that he listened to outside of the city who want to use this city as an experiment, and I think he's implementing those policies. I think he don't know what he's doing when he's implementing those policies, and that's why a lot of them are backfiring and getting thrown back in his face. So, I mean, that's all the time we have, though, you know, but that's just, you know, my opinion about the situation. But we got plenty of time to discuss these. Thanks a lot to both of my hosts. Hopefully we can do this very soon, in 2 weeks. You think we can get this done? You gonna be on time?
I'm gonna be on time.
Okay. In 2 weeks, listen, we want to thank you for watching. We will be back hopefully in a few weeks with another show from the Newark Citizen. Thank you and bye.
Be well.
Be well.